Greetings. Music is one of the most dematerialized products out there, just like software, and therefore one of the purest assimilators of money printing into non-inflationary growth and productivity gains. Now we have a chart here from the Carpe Diem blog on the AEI.org website by Professor Mark J. Perry, and he happens to have a good understanding of technological economics, even though he's a PhD economist, and is thus one of the only PhD economists who's even curious about these things. And he has this chart up here about music sales by type of physical productization, 1973 to 2022, which conveniently happens to be exactly my lifespan to date. So what we're going to do is play this, and I will comment only at 1 or 2 points in between. So we start from 1973. You see vinyl was the top, but now it's going down quickly as new, more dematerialized types of products have begun to emerge. CDs are even more dematerialized than cassettes, so CDs took the lead. And vinyl has shrunk to almost zero by now, 0.2% in 2006. Now streaming, the most dematerialized type of music delivery, has emerged. And it quickly shot up to 84.2%. So the most dematerialized type of music delivery became the overwhelming majority of music sales, although vinyl did rise from 0.2%, as we saw at its lowest point, to 7.4%. This is part of a vinyl revival that is occurring now for non-technological reasons for the most part. And you can read about that on Wikipedia over here, about why vinyl has come back for a short while. I don't think this will sustain for a very long time. Of course, in India, vinyl is pronounced as vinyl. Now remember, this only represents music that is actually purchased. All of us who are on YouTube access a lot of music for free, other than the cost of viewing ads. And there's so much music on YouTube, virtually every single song you could ever think of, that it's easy to find any song that you want and play it effectively for free on YouTube. So the consumption of music is understated even by the stark trend that we saw here. Even though we saw greater and greater dematerialization, this understates the extent to which music is being consumed, because YouTube is probably a bigger source of music consumption than any of the paid streaming services. And this leads us to another paragraph that is in this article. You can read this entire article if you're interested in these particular observations that Professor Perry has made. But this paragraph that he titles as related is super important to all atom type of thought. And I'm going to read it. The abundance of low-cost, almost free music also illustrates one of the shortcomings of traditional GDP accounting when it comes to measuring our economic well-being or standard of living. Americans' music well-being is clearly at an all-time high for the reasons discussed above. But according to official GDP statistics that include retail music sales, the nation's music well-being today, measured by $15.4 billion in projected sales this year, is about half of what it was in 1999 when music sales were $26 billion in 2022 dollars. According to official GDP accounting, the golden age of music was back in 1999 during the era of CDs, when it's obvious that we're experiencing the most miraculous music renaissance in history with streaming music that isn't remotely being captured by national income accounting. Now this paragraph is very well tied to the atom thesis, and I use music as an example in the atom chapter 2, which you can access over here, is an audiobook chapter. Music is one of those things where above a certain quality threshold, demand is infinity, but printing more money will not boost that $15.4 billion figure much, because almost everyone is accessing as much music as they want to. Even if you are poor, at least in the United States, you can access a greater range and depth and selection of music than even the rich Americans of the 1980s were able to. The discovery process for new music that you may like is also more productive than ever before. There are more and more ways to find new songs that you didn't even know about than was ever possible before. And so this is absolutely an atom example, one of the purest ones of all, because music consumption and accessibility is at an all-time high, yet music industry revenue is only a little more than half of what it was in 1999, and musicians are making more money than ever. Take all the top musicians of today. The amount of money they make per year is more than ever. So in this particular video, we have seen examples of dematerialization and disintermediation. The removal of record labels and retail stores in between has enabled the difference to be split between the consumer and the musician. And that's why half as much music industry revenue still means much more music access and consumption. And no amount of money printing can increase the consumption of music from what it is now. I repeat again. So this is something to think about, because this is one of the best examples of a sector of the economy transitioning from low tech to high tech, and similar economics can happen in more and more sectors. Anything that is very software or knowledge oriented can experience the same. And we are seeing this more and more as the atom progresses, the accelerating technomic medium of the world. And this is why GDP measurements and inflation statistics are all becoming more and more outdated. Music has experienced tremendous deflation, and this type of deflation is good because it is inseparable from an increase in living standards. No amount of money printing can cause inflation in music, let alone hyperinflation in music dollar prices. That just cannot occur. And that is why GDP is becoming less and less accurate of a measurement of economic growth. Remember that GDP rewards doing more with more, whereas technology is always about getting the same with less. I'll say that again. GDP rewards doing more with more, while technology is about getting the same with less. And somehow the economics establishment is not able to figure this out and revise the statistics under which we measure economic prosperity, and that is why more and more policy decisions are misguided and are not capturing the true rate of economic growth, with music being one of the best examples that demonstrates this. Now, if you like this type of content and you found this video to be informative, I encourage you to subscribe to this channel. Thank you very much for watching.